One of the things that makes the biggest difference on whether you are going to have great success in your life and in your business or not is your ability to master the power of focus. And the reason this is so important is because what it does is it gets you very targeted, very singularly focused on just one thing. And if you look at all the great companies, all the great leaders, that's what they did. They focused on just one thing. And today we're going to talk briefly about the power of focus, how you can master it, why it's so hard, why is it so elusive, and what is the science behind it that can get you there. And if you do want to figure out what is my singular focus or my passion or my purpose, we're going to talk about that today. And so I want to go ahead and get started, and then let's dive in. Okay, so today we're talking about focus, and think about this. What is going on with most people? When we talk to people that reach out to us, we go out in the community. When I go out and speak, do you know the number one block for most entrepreneurs? What do you think it is? You know, they always say, oh, I want leads and I want this. But you know, the block, the thing that keeps them from getting all these things is usually overwhelm. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of dive in, show you some information that I put together for today. And we're just going to cross our fingers and hope everything works. Okay. So let me go ahead and see if we can make this work. Okay. And I think we can do this. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen here. This is what we're talking about today, is the power of focus, okay? And so what I want to do is really dive a lot deeper into this and talk about what is the big thing, what is the big problem, why this is so hard, is because you really have to go deep. And this is what we call find your inner David, right? Think about the David, what the great statue carved out of marble, right? Just a big block of marble. And he focused on that and chipped away at that until it became a masterpiece. But it wasn't that he put all this stuff on the outside, right? It was that he actually carved away, got rid of all of the excess in order to get down to the true David. And that's what you want to figure out. How do you do that today? And how you do that is three key things. You want to have curiosity, you need passion, and you need purpose. Now, curiosity is very important. Like, what is something that really intrigues you? Because if you're not interested, you're just not going to keep going. You're not going to look any deeper. So you've got to be insanely curious about how to get something done. And then you have to have passion about it. Not the, oh, this is my passion, I want to do my passion. What you want to do as a passion might not be your business. Okay, they might not be the same things, and that's actually a good thing, because sometimes, like, I'm really passionate about skiing and I love skiing and it's awesome, but I don't want to make it a business, and then I end up hating my passion. So you want to be very clear. What is my passion? How can I make this thing that I'm super curious about something that drives me passionately? Because you need this curiosity, you need the passion, and you need the purpose to build in that drive. Okay. And so that is the third part. Is it aligned with the purpose? What is the purpose for this? Why do you want to do it? I work with entrepreneurs. Why? Because I really want them to get free in their life and to break out of having to work for anybody else and know the true joy of having unlimited freedom, unlimited time, and unlimited wealth to do anything they want, anytime they want, with whoever they want, right? But this is the number one problem that we're talking about, and that is the overwhelm problem. And if you have that, let me know, put it down in the comments. Let me know, yes, I have this overwhelm problem, and it is a big problem. And also, there's so many books on the topic, right? You can go to Amazon, you can find thousands and thousands of books on the topic. And guess what? It's still not working. Everyone is still overwhelmed, right? No matter how great the authors, how many reviews and everything they get, people aren't changing. Guess what they try to do next? They try to look for external attempts. to add in. Oh, I'm going to take all these nootropics, or I'm going to take this alpha brain and meds. I'm going to do the lion's mane and shrooms, and I'm going to go do ayahuasca and all these external things. I'm going to have the focus aid or whatever power drink you want. And notice how if they just put the word focus on it, everybody thinks, oh, that'll work. I've got to have it, right? And guess what? Any of these medicinal purposes, they don't work. The drugs aren't working. The supplements aren't, right? So what's going on? And you might say, yeah, but these drugs are working for me. But you're dependent on an outside source, and how long can that go on? We're going to talk about the law behind it. And then there's the internal source, the internal seeking. Oh, I'll just be quiet and I will meditate. And how many of you can meditate really long, or you get there and you give up after a week, 3 days, 3 weeks, because it's so hard, because you keep getting interrupted by this really annoying person called yourself who is talking in the back of your head, right? So silence is golden. It's key, but it's pretty impossible. You're never, ever, ever going to silence it all. And that's why people give up. So to use the silence to get to the focus doesn't work either. Okay. Here's one thing that does work is starting with a list of 6. And this is really powerful. Just do it the night before. Okay. So the reason this is important is because if you do it the night before, have you ever heard the saying that at night you're just tossing and turning when you're, quote, listless? That's because you don't have a list. You don't know what's going to come up the next day. And you need to know, what is the thing that I'm going to do the next day, so I can do that in order. And the list of 6 is very powerful because it gives you a sense of purpose. And when you know this is what I'm going to do, you can get kind of excited about it and you wonder how it's all going to turn out. And you see those are those 3 elements of curiosity, passion, and purpose. And it's really powerful to be able to drive you. But if you don't have that list of 6, right, you're like this, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, no, right? And you're always turning around trying to figure out which way do I go. Okay. So the purpose and the passion and the curiosity are going to come, and that you're going to aid that by having more focus. The way you get that focus is by doing a list. And so these are just some things you can think of. What doesn't work is external things. And you think, well, the internal things will work. I'll work on myself. I'll be still. I'll forgive everybody. That's nice too. But does it actually work with focus? Does it keep you on target? Right? And why is it? You can only concentrate for a certain period of time. So here's the key. If you're ever stuck with this, right? And you're like, gosh, why can I not stick to something very long? The maximum time that the brain can handle is about 2 hours on a topic. Now, I know when we get into a zone, right, we get into the flow, then we feel like we could go forever. But actually what's happening is after that 2-hour window, your brain starts to shut down. And what happens is your brain uses up 25% of the energy of your body. And that little 3-pound thing, think how much you weigh, and then your brain is a little over 3 pounds, right? It's not very big. And so this thing here, right, this thing is very small, but it uses 25% of your energy. So when you drain this after 2 hours and you don't take a break, then your body starts to shut down. Okay. And even if you're on a roll, take that break, because you need that separation from what you're working on to get new input. All right. Because your brain is shutting down. So it needs external input of the greater mind. So I know, very metaphysical, but that is how it works. Okay. So this is so important to understand. If you don't do that, then you are going to limit your ability to focus and your ability to move forward in your business. Now, if you want to know how that works, this 2-hour window maximum, and then you take a break and then work maybe a half an hour, take a break, work an hour, take a break. This is the 5-hour workday that we use. And if you want a copy of that, just write 5-hour CEO workday or 5-hour workday down below, or put your name there, and we will go ahead and get that to you. Okay. So let's keep going on some other focused things that we want to take a look at. And let me go back to this. So we talked about the list. Okay, we call it the list of 6. It goes way back. I think back from the Think and Grow Rich days, right? So let's go ahead and talk about this again now. So we've got the list, and why don't we focus? Well, you want to look for the root cause, right? What is causing some of this problem? Why can't you focus? And if you look at some things, why is this happening? It's because the opposite is happening, right? Why can I not focus? Is because you don't have a singular point of focus. And what does that mean? Is that you have many focuses. Most people are so unproductive in a day. This is it. If you have a full hour day, the reality is you're only working 2.5 hours in a day. There's so much distraction going on. And there's lots of studies behind that. So what we need to do is break the addiction to addition. Okay, what's happening is all day long we're just spinning plates and spinning plates, and when things aren't going our way, we're like, oh, I'm not getting farther or faster. Then what do? We add things on. And then nobody seems to have the ability to let go. See, this is one of the root causes. You got to let go of everything else that isn't getting you there. And I'm going to show you the science behind this. So you've got to break the addiction to the addition. And what happens is most people then say, oh, well, I'm ADD, I'm ADHD, I have this kind of brain. Well, we've been programmed by the environment for that. So the thief of focus is multitasking. And if you're trying to do that, you're trying to do several things at once, it doesn't work. Have you ever noticed, like, oh, I'm just going to finish this one thing before I quit working, and then it takes you 4 hours and it should have taken you 20 minutes? I'm totally guilty of that. So when you get into multitasking, thinking you can do all these things at once, each time you switch, okay, it's called a multitasking switch, then it's taking you 23 minutes to get back to what you were doing. Think about that. If you try to multitask 3 times in an hour, you just keep adding to your ineptitude, right? Another thing that does it is all of the outside inflictions, right? We've got TVs, we've got our tablet, we watch usually both at the same time, we have our phone there, and then we might have a podcast going in the background and other music playing, and then we watch TV with insets of TVs, right? The TV always has other insets going on and the scroll at the bottom, and we're just bombarded with information, okay? Already we have 400,000, 700,000, 40,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and we're trying to just focus on one. Imagine how much stuff you have to let go just to get there. It makes sense when you think about it, right? Why we're just such a focused mess, okay? So let's talk about some of the science. Quantum Zeno effect. And have you ever heard of the saying, like, a watch pot never boils? Okay, let me explain this to you. It's a phenomenon in quantum physics. And technically, right, scientifically, it means that when you're observing a particle, it prevents it from decaying as it would in the absence of observation. Okay, so what does that actually mean, and how do you apply that to your ability to focus? Think about it this way, okay? So quantum Zeno effect means that if you have a habit of doing something all the time, like let's say every morning, the first thing you do is you pick up your phone and you start scrolling and doing the doom scroll, and that's a habit. And then you check email, okay, then that's a habit. And you're thinking, this is what I do all the time. Now I'm going to focus and not do that anymore, okay? But what happens is, because you are trying to do something that has been ingrained as a habit, when you try to break that habit, guess what? You can't, because your brain has already gone into exhaustion mode. It's gone into lazy mode, right? It's taking up 25% of the energy. It doesn't want to work harder. So when a new opportunity comes up, like let's say, for example, in the morning, you wake up and you do 21-day mind mastery session every morning for 7 to 10 minutes so you can clear your brain, you are going to resist that when quantum Zeno effect takes place, because you've been so ingrained and entrenched in this habit, okay? And so this habit that you've been doing of doom scrolling and checking email and never getting really into your work until about 1 o'clock is actually now a habit that becomes your grave and is very difficult to change over, okay? So if you need some help with that, just type #call and we'll show you how to change that over. So that's one of the things that really becomes a problem is the quantum zeno effect. You want to break the habit, but because you've been in it so long, if you don't stay in a constant state of awareness, your brain is going to go lazy and just go, let's just go along with everything that we've done before. Okay. It's really frustrating, isn't it? When you think, oh man, how do I even have a shot at fixing any of this? Right. Okay. So that is one of the laws of physics that is going to prevent you from being able to master your focus. So let's go into look at the next one. And give me just a second and I'll show you where we go from here. Okay. So a watch pot never boils, right? If you think you're going to break the habit, it's very, very hard to break it on your own. The next one is Occam's razor. And if you're not familiar with this one, scientifically, it's a problem-solving principle. It recommends that when you're searching for an explanation or result for something, you want to do it and construct it with the smallest set of elements, right? Break everything down to the minimum amounts required, nothing more, nothing less. Okay. So think about this like you're walking on a razor's edge. Okay. That's Occam's razor. And so what does that mean? When we're trying to accomplish something, maybe we're trying to make more money or hire a great team or whatever your big goal is for your business, you want to use this principle and break everything down to the simplest possible way to have it accomplished and do nothing else. Okay. Don't add in other things. Even if nothing is working, your tendency is going to go, oh, it's not working. I want to do other things. Don't do it. Don't fall for that. Okay. Stick with the one thing. The one thing is the hardest, right? Because we feel like this is going slow and I want to have more. This whole fallacy of multiple streams of income is actually hurting your business rather than helping your business. All right. And so these are all principles that we teach business owners. We teach it for free every Tuesday morning, locally, live in person. We show you these strategies and how you can apply it to your business to make more profit. And if you are not local, you can join me virtually and just type #virtual and I'll invite you to the next virtual event I have where I teach you this, all of the stuff we teach for free. If you're in person, we even feed you and everything else. And it's a really awesome way to network with other business owners. So there's lots of ways that you can learn these things, or you can just hop on a call with me. Okay. And if you hop on a call, we can figure out what is that block? Where are you blocking it? Why don't you have singular focus in your business? Because that is the number one thing that is going to free you, right? We talked about the root cause. Well, the problem was everyone's overwhelmed. The root cause is you're doing too much. You need to break it down using Occam's razor to the simplest element, to just the one thing that matters. Okay. The problem is sometimes we're so close, right, to the mirror, we can't see what's actually happening there. Okay. So Occam's razor is very powerful. And then the Heisenberg principle. So this one is one of my faves also. Okay. The situation will appear when the conditions are appropriate. Keep that in mind. You want this amazing thing to light up your world, right? But are you ready for it? Okay. Is the situation appropriate? So, for example, think about an example on this one is you're going to have all these people over, or somebody special over for dinner, but you don't have the table set, right? Maybe the food is ready to go. Maybe everything is done in the oven or whatever. Okay. But the place isn't set. It's the same thing here. So, for example, you're trying to grow a big business, but it's not going to appear if you don't have that foundation, right? Maybe you don't have your SOPs. You don't have, maybe you didn't do like a business model canvas, or you don't know your power pitch, or your business doesn't have a story or a mission or anything like that. And that's what I mean by the conditions are not appropriate for your business to grow if you don't have that. Or maybe you don't know sales, so you don't have the appropriate condition to be able to sell more. Or maybe you don't have really good fulfillment, so the conditions are not appropriate for you to grow. So that's what the Heisenberg principle means. It's very, very powerful. And when you're wondering, why is my business not growing? Why am I not profitable? Because maybe what you're doing is you're starting about saying, I got to get leads, I got to get leads, I got to get leads. That's what everyone says. I get leads, right? And what do you do to get leads? Then you go and focus on sales, 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 sales. But the conditions aren't appropriate. You don't have a place to put them. You don't have a funnel or a process or a flow for them to go through. So no matter how hard you're working and pedaling to get everything going, Heisenberg principle is going to knock you out, right? It's going to knock you out because no matter, even though the situation is there, you're like, okay, I'm doing things, I'm talking to people, I'm networking, I'm doing all this stuff, but it's not appropriate, right? Because the environment isn't set for that. Okay, this is why it's so important to do all the steps of growth. Scaling is really easy if you do it in order. And most people aren't doing it in order. They're just trying to willy-nilly go all the place, right? They're like, okay, it's going to show this face today. No, I'm going to be this. So I'm going to show you this business, right? You're turning all around. It's like one big head, but you don't even know which side is coming and going. Okay. So this is where we're talking about. You've got to understand, what is the face of your business? What is the one thing? Don't show everything, right? The other sides will come up in time, but not now. So that is the third law of physics that will take your business from 6 figures to 7 figures in 1 year or less. It's so easy if you just understand these simple laws. Okay. So Heisenberg principle, right? If you think I'm doing everything, I'm working so hard, I'm overwhelmed and nothing is happening, guess what kicked in? The Heisenberg principle kicked in, and it'll all show up when you have everything in the right order. So why does all this matter? Why is focus so important? Because when you focus and you focus singularly on the center, right? The one thing, the fulcrum that matters, you get the results. But what it looks like when you don't do this is it just becomes a spiral. And usually that spiral is going down. Okay. So if you're not focused, you're just spinning. And eventually it's like spinning down a drain. Okay. So this is the key. This is the one thing I want you to remember, is this word singularity. This is the thing that I built 5 multi-million-dollar companies off of from scratch, $1-million companies in less than a year, my own and other clients. And why? Because of this one thing, right? This is it. If you know the one thing that you can focus on, the one thing that will take your business from 6 figures to 7 figures, it's a piece of cake, okay? But if you don't know what your one thing is, you're never going to hit it. That would be why you're struggling in the a 6-figure, under 6-figure category. You're like, why can't I get there? So how do you know if it's time for you to move up? How do you know if it's time for you to up level your business and start using these principles? This is just one of the 4 principles in what we call our SOAR formula. And that's a 7-figure CEO formula. So the first one, okay, and all of it comes from, so I've written a couple books, but it all comes from this one, SOAR, okay? And the S is the singularity. Okay. Each one of these we're going to go over in the next week, because each one of these is the key for you to reach $1 million business. All you have to do is simply follow those 4 steps. So if you're ready to focus on having $1 million business that supports you rather than you supporting it, so you can have the unlimited freedom that most people want, to have their business give them a vehicle to have a great life rather than for you to be pushing this car uphill all the time. So if you liked today, next week we're going to talk about the mastering the power of wealth. And if you want to know how to do that, that's going to be letter O. We're going to cover that next week. And that would be step 2 of the 4-step formula. So we will see you next week, and you will add on to focus. We'll take you to wealth, and we'll go all the way through. See you guys next week.